In 1995, a new piece of legislature was introduced by Republican Senator Slade Gorton and Democratic Senator James Exon. This piece of legislature would eventually come to be known as the Communications Decency Act of 1996. This act was the very first attempt by the US government to regulate content on the internet. The law would penalize uploaders of sexually explicit, obscene, or most worrisome, indecent content. Critics believe that the nebulous nature of defining things as indecent would be an affront to the First Amendment. They also worried that content that was available legally offline would suddenly be made illegal when it was put online. If made into law, this act would essentially destroy the internet. It was passed by Congress on February 1st, 1996, and then a week later on February 8th, it was signed into law by President Bill Clinton. In protest of these new laws, a software engineer named Thomas E. Dell, under the pseudonym Soylent, created a little website known as Rotten.com. Although thanks to the efforts of the ACLU, the controversial portions of the Communications Decency Act were ruled unconstitutional, Rotten.com remained online for over 20 years as a middle finger to those who would try to censor the internet. This is the story of that website. Several years back, I think in 1996 or 1997, I received an unsolicited email to my old AOL account. This email was advertising a website called Rotten.com, and not yet being the jaded internet user that I would eventually become, I clicked on it. And I'm glad I did, because that site blew my mind. In their own words, Rotten.com was the soft underbelly of the net, eviscerated for all to see. And in their view, they served as a bastion of free speech on the internet. According to their About page, Rotten.com is the internet's preeminent publisher of disturbing, offensive, disgusting, yet extremely compelling content. Founded in 1996 after the enactment of the Communications Decency Act, our mission is to actively demonstrate that censorship of the internet is impractical, unethical, and wrong. While the CDA was ruled unconstitutional in 1997, and similar laws have come and gone, we continue to serve as a haven for free speech of a most controversial nature. But as a kid, I didn't really care about any of that. I just wanted to see the pictures of gore, mangled bodies, strange diseases, stuff that I had previously only ever experienced cinematic, fictional approximations of. I was always a big fan of horror, but this wasn't horror, this was reality. And I've also always been curious about that email I received, because that email address is long gone at this point, but surely other people got it too. But when I asked on Twitter how you first discovered Rotten.com, I didn't receive a single response mentioning that email. The overwhelming majority of you, despite it being a website for adults, heard about it at school from other kids. And in one case, one of your teachers. A lot of you also heard about it from relatives. In particular, a lot of you found out about it from your mothers, which, thinking about how it seems like older women loved their investigation discovery murder shows, I wonder if there's like something going on there. But the biggest source of traffic for Rotten.com back in those formative years was pictures of dead celebrities. A lot of people found their way to Rotten.com looking for pictures of Tupac, Chris Farley, Nicole Brown Simpson, and perhaps most infamously, Princess Diana. On September 12th, 1997, a few short weeks after Princess Diana's death in a car crash in France, Rotten published a graphic photo purporting to be a picture of Diana at the scene of the crash. Their links spread like wildfire, and Rotten.com made the news. A group called Rotten, which dubs itself an archive of disturbing illustration, had added the photo to its website. It purports to show Diana post-accident. An inset that could be Diana's face appears in the bottom corner of the photo with the caption, "Death of a Princess." It's unclear whether the woman in the car wreck is Diana, and there is no credit line to the picture. While Rotten made a cursory attempt to analyze the possible authenticity of the photo, it didn't stop there. When at such time we receive better accident photos, they will appear at this spot immediately. If you have any, send them, it says on the site. A spokesman for Paris Criminal Police told Reuters today, "This is not a picture of Princess Diana's accident. It's a fake." Rescuers in the picture were not wearing standard French emergency services gear, he added. Also, a 3-digit emergency phone number in the background, 999, was not a French number and appeared to be British. Rotten.com responded by saying that they never claimed the photos were authentic. They also noted that since the coverage began, their traffic skyrocketed. We got swamped. For several months, we were receiving 25,000 visitors per day. After 3 million visitors, Rotten.com underwent a format change, and the number of visitors increased to about 35,000 per day. On September 17th, there were about 50,000 visitors. Yesterday, after the media attention on September 18th, we served 75,000 visitors. But prior to noon today, Rotten had received 50,000 visitors, and the load average on the machine, a Swank 4 processor Spark, was 95. It's normally 1/100th of that. The pictures have been removed for the time being. They have not been censored. There is just not enough bandwidth for us to serve the demand. If you have a T3 and are willing to act as a mirror site to shoulder a bit of this, please let our staff know in order to make arrangements. And at this point, they were still only on their way to their peak as the destination site for content people dare not speak of. It also wouldn't be their only brush with hoaxes. In fact, like Faces of Death, the VHS movie that I would call the spiritual predecessor to Rotten.com, a lot of the content that people remember most vividly was actually fake. Rotten.com actually played a big part in propagating a lot of early internet trolling campaigns and outright hoaxes. And these campaigns often sent the authorities, the media, and legal departments spinning around in circles. A good example of this is the time Rotten.com made trenchcoat.org. On April 20th of 1999, the Columbine High School massacre made history as the deadliest school shooting to date. Early on in the investigation, one of the perpetrator's parents claimed that his son was a member of something called the Trenchcoat Mafia. Although this wound up being a very minor point in the story, it was an easy digestible thing for the media to latch on and create some imagery with. It was also something that was the target of a lot of mockery on the much edgier 1999 internet. But the authorities weren't laughing. Shout out to my friend Pete, who had the cops knock on the door because he put Trenchcoat Mafia in his AOL profile. It was at this time that the creator of Rotten.com made a website called trenchcoat.org. This site, which positioned itself as the official site of the Trenchcoat Mafia, had content such as the Trenchcoat Mafia Manifesto, pictures of Neo from The Matrix in black and white, and at the bottom of the site, there is a link labeled Who to Sue that would send you to the purported owners of the website. When clicked, that link would send you to the website of Burlington Coat Factory, and the Burlington Coat Factory was not pleased. Dear Sir or Madam, it has come to our attention that the above-referenced website, which is registered to Soylent Communications, has been using the name Burlington Coat Factory without the consent of Burlington Coat Factory Warehouse Corporation. The website contains a number of tasteless commentaries on the April 20th tragedy that occurred at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado. Specifically, the website lists Burlington Coat Factory under the caption, Who to Sue, and provides a link to the company website of Burlington Coat Factory. This unauthorized use of our name and infringement on our trademark is defamatory, libelous, and actionable, and we demand that Soylent Communications immediately remove all references to Burlington Coat Factory from this website. Furthermore, we demand that Soylent Communications immediately provide Burlington Coat Factory with any and all information in its possession regarding any person or entity involved in the development or maintenance of www.trenchcoat.org. We are outraged by this malicious attempts to associate us with such a tragedy. We will not sit idly by and allow your website solutions to besmirch our company name and reputation. Be advised that if you do not immediately remove all references to Burlington Coat Factory from the website, we will pursue all legal and equitable remedies available to us. Soylent complied with their demands and changed trenchcoat.org to a compilation of all the hate mail they had received. And it wasn't just the Burlington Coat Factory that would send them legal threats. In fact, they received so many that they eventually made an entire section just for the legal threats they received. Like the time Pillsbury threatened them over a picture of doughboys being cooked alive. Or the time MasterCard threatened them over parodies of their ads. Or the time Coca-Cola threatened them over a picture of a Coke bottle shoved up someone's ass. All things that realistically should be covered under fair use, but at the same time were things that Soylent had to back down from because he couldn't afford a costly legal battle over single images. But that's not to say that Rotten.com was unwilling to take risks for their purported free speech values. Consider the case of Banzai Kitten. Banzai Kitten was a hoax website created by MIT students that purported to teach you how to grow a kitten into the shape of a jar. The website claimed that by placing a kitten into a jar, as it grew, its bones would take the shape of its container and you would eventually have a fancy shaped adult cat. And although to any reasonable person this would be an obvious hoax, obvious joke website, it fooled a lot of people. And the people it tricked were outraged, and the outraged people managed to get the site taken down from its servers at least 2 times. Eventually, Rotten.com stepped up to the plate and allowed Banzai Kitten to be hosted on their servers where it had its permanent home. This once again put Rotten.com at odds with the law, however, because eventually the FBI started investigating Banzai Kitten. But thankfully, the FBI too eventually realized that this was a fake joke website, and Banzai Kitten continues to fool idiots on the internet to this very day. And Rotten would eventually find itself at the center of free speech controversies once again when a new law was proposed known as the Child Online Protection Act, or COPA. After parts of the Communications Decency Act, the very law that inspired Rotten.com's creation, were found to be unconstitutional, COPA was made as a way to try to circumvent those rulings and basically try again. This time, the law would restrict access to content deemed harmful to minors based on contemporary community standards. During the COPA hearings, Donna Rice Hughes, the CEO of a company called Enough is Enough, an organization whose sole purpose is to censor the internet because think of the children, directly mentioned Rotten.com as a reason why this law was needed. Once again, this law was initially approved. It wasn't until later on that the Court of Appeals found that contemporary community standards was too broad of a definition. And like the CDA, it was also ruled that COPA was unconstitutional, saving the internet from this sort of fuckery one more time. Of course, not everyone around the world was so lucky. Around the time that COPA was deemed unconstitutional in the US, similar laws were passed in Germany, and as a result of this law, 56 different ISPs had to block access to Rotten.com. And I think this is the perfect time to talk about the sponsor of this video, NordVPN. With servers all around the world, NordVPN can help you access censored region-locked content. The necessity of this is growing as the battle for free speech rages on the internet. And since NordVPN keeps no logs of anybody's browsing history, there's absolutely no record of you having been to such restricted places. Just go to nordvpn.com/Whang for 75% off a 3-year deal and use code Whang for an extra bonus month. Although Rotten.com and its owner Soylent fought the good fight for free speech online for over 20 years, as of 2017, Rotten.com is down. However, according to an interview with TheOutline.com, Soylent said that the site's not gone, he's simply having some hardware issues. Although it's not back yet, he said it will eventually return. But the battle for free speech on the internet continues without Rotten.com, perhaps stronger than ever before. Think of the Children has taken on so many new forms, and the gatekeepers of old have lost their power, and they're trying to get it back. In these times, I think something Soylent said in an old interview with Salon.com really highlights the futility of trying to censor the internet. To censor this site, it is necessary to censor medical texts, history texts, evidence rooms, courtrooms, art museums, libraries, and other sources of information vital to the functioning of a free society. Horrors are sprinkled throughout life, and I see no problem with concentrating them. If you want, we could go down to the bookstores and find pictures of cadavers for you. It's very easy. It's not possible to write a law to make it impossible to display that stuff, even for minors. It's too much of a slippery slope to take. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, I think you'll also like this one. I'm out of here.